I want you to imagine a cold, grey, rectangular cage hovering in the air, a soulless, weather-beaten box. Now, it's not really a prison cage, but rather a balcony of an old Soviet-era panel house, the kind you can find in such Ukrainian cities as Mila, Poltava, Kryvyi Rih, and more. Yet, last year, while visiting Prague, I found myself standing in front of an identical balcony. Do they use the same materials? Sure. Are they of a similar shape? Right again. Yet, standing there, it felt different. It felt alive. To give you a better glimpse of why those Czech balconies impress me so much, you have to experience my daily walk from home to school in Kryvyi Rih. Imagine a usual May morning. I wake up and set off on my way to school on foot, while buses and trolleybuses keep passing by me. I sincerely love my hometown for being so green, for being my birthplace. But what buildings am I surrounded by? Almost every facade looks like a half-hearted, unfinished DIY project. One balcony is boxed with cheap white plastic, while the other one is on the verge of falling apart and succumbing to rust and time. One part of the facade is covered by faded-out orange insulation, while the other is a dark purple or green. The toxic pink color of the shop below catches my eye against the stained concrete, while black cables hang over like a heavy cobweb. And do not forget about the AC units sticking out like a sore thumb. And I've got no choice but to keep my head down and stare in order not to step into a patch of mud. Why do we treat our streets as an apocalyptic video game level where you simply have to survive? And more importantly, what happens to our neighborhoods when places we live in have to be endured, not enjoyed? In Ukraine, about 75% of all housing is outdated. Most of us live in massive concrete blocks, which are designed not to be beautiful, but practical. Why does this happen, though? The easy answer would be money. When the 1955 decree to eliminate the so-called architectural excesses was passed, the mass construction of buildings we now refer to as Khrushchevka was initialized. The construction costs were cut by approximately 30%, but at the cost of any architectural or aesthetic details. But the deeper, more profound root cause is a lie we've silently accepted. It's the idea that beauty is purely subjective. It affects not only us, but architects as well. We keep telling ourselves, oh, beauty is entirely subjective, everybody sees it differently, so why even try striving for it? Take a look at our buildings. We mismatch insulation colors, box balconies with cheap plastic, and drill our walls to install AC units. This leads us to the point where we treat the building like a spreadsheet where only our row matters. We were tricked into abandoning a shared aesthetic into a chaotic leopard print facade while also dismantling the historic beauty. And what exactly happens when you stop thriving? You feel it every morning. When you walk through indifferent gray streets, they drain energy from you before you even get to work. When the neighborhood feels neglected, you feel like that as well. And neglected neighborhoods send an invisible signal that sounds like, oh, nobody really cares about what is going on here. Feel free to do whatever you want, no guilt. If such an order of things is not fixed, then the feeling of all permissiveness and mental fatigue are at the risk of becoming permanent. Cities will no longer feel as cherished possessions, but rather disposable cardboard boxes. We will simply lose our empathy and mix in with the concrete. Now, be honest with yourself. When was the last time you actually felt strength, energy, and motivation coming from your surroundings? Was it during your daily commute to school, or rather during a visit to a historical landmark or a natural park? Do we really have to accept that places we live in are mere conditions for survival and not places of thriving? Humans have historically evolved in complex, vibrant environments: forests, rivers, monumental architecture, such as the one of ancient civilizations. In 2019, researchers from the University of Warwick gathered sceniness ratings of various locations, alongside 3 years' worth of happiness data from over 15,000 participants via a mobile app. Their key finding was that scenic locations, whether natural or urban, consistently boost happiness, regardless of such factors as time, weather, or activity. As a result, we can say that we are biologically wired to draw energy from our surroundings. Thus, when we are forced into concrete labyrinths, our brains enter panic mode. If dismantling beauty literally means increasing mental fatigue and distress, then it is logical to assume that promoting and creating beauty is not merely an optional luxury. Rather, it is an act of survival. And the power to do it lies not only on the shoulders of city planners and architects. Rather, the responsibility lies on us, young urban activists. If not us, then who will take care of our cities? Start small, not someday, today. Find a metaphorical broken window in your area. Maybe it's a dull corner everybody ignores. Maybe it's a piece of litter. Change it. Paint something unexpected, build a tiny birdhouse, or do some guerrilla gardening. It's the art of planting flowers and trees on land you do not really own, while turning it from a wasteland into a newly born garden. Such actions may seem small, but they really aren't because they interrupt a dangerous invisible process. They interrupt indifference. Now, scale up and act bigger. Individual act is extremely important, but together we are capable of achieving much more. Bring the neighborhood with you and organize a so-called transformation day, a block party with a brilliant cause. Partner with city authorities or like-minded organizations to create a reward system. Collected enough trash bags full of litter? Here's a route taxi pass. Were you able to restore that rusted gate? Here's a gift card for that cafe you wanted to visit. Such a system may seem simple enough, but it creates an impulse which turns the passive people into proactive citizens. And proactive citizens are those who are willing to take a challenge. Try to find one generic, mass-produced piece of infrastructure or architecture in your area. Instead of letting it be replaced with another of its kind, crowdfund and team up with local artisans and artists to create something unique, something new, something which will represent the local culture and values. Take a look at the city repair project in the US. They did not wait for any instructions from the above. Instead, they acted proactively and painted murals right onto dangerous intersections. They turned dysfunctional utilities into communal landmarks. Furthermore, research from the University of Pennsylvania shows that areas with newly painted murals show crime reductions of up to 42%. Finally, cure your own urban numbness. Just today, try to go a different route home from school today and photograph 3 previously unnoticed details. Research from the University of California shows that this does not simply change the way you perceive the street. Rather, it's that spark of hope that keeps you upbeat and motivated. It's that thing which gives you an opportunity to notice. Because if we are not capable of even noticing, that we definitely won't be motivated enough to actually make a change. We live in a man-made world. And because we made it, we have the power to remake it. Beauty is one of those things that make us feel human in the first place. So, choosing beauty in a world full of grey concrete is an act of care. Care for yourself, care for your close ones, care for your home. Maybe it's time we finally stop living in places that feel just like buildings and start living in places that actually feel like home. Thank you.